at that point when that happened, I was not here in the US. So I knew this happened, but that particular sentence itself didn't make cultural sense to me. And then when my advisor saw that, they just laughed. I'm like, what's so funny about it? And then they pointed out. But it also, immediately what it pointed out to me was that it's actually in the paper as well as that. This interpretation heavily depends upon my own life world and where I'm coming from. There's a huge amount of cultural sort of a thing. And that is going into that, I know that, and I use that as a strength. I actually argue that that is a strength, which we cannot just take it as, oh, that's all subjective opinion. The analogy I would like to use here is the notion of a cultural critique, or something like someone who writes movie reviews, right? To understand a movie experience, you can just go ahead and interview people who come out of it and say this is how they understood it. But there's also the option of a movie reviewer does not necessarily take the position of this is how people experience things, but they're pointing out and making a cultural critique of what elements is there. That's a cultivated sort of expertise. I don't want to call it an elite view, but it's definitely a cultivated sort of a view. And that has certain things which are, like things like power relationships. I don't, well, this might be arrogant to say this, but I probably not, quote unquote, normal users of the system wouldn't be able to talk about those in very concrete terms of how I talk about it. And I think it is important, I'm not saying everyone should, but I think there is a contribution to talking about it in a very academic and scholarly way, which brings up these sort of things, especially within the community of design, because they need to understand that. And it also points out that the audience of the movie does not have that sort of conceptual structures to make and analyze. This is theorized to death in film theory, is this notion of why cultural critique is important.